What's up, everybody? It's your boy JR Lee, and I'm back for another special episode of the Fly on the Wall Show. Today's episode 71, and I got a special guest. I got Mr. Brennan and he goes by the name of the Budget Dog. And so, for the people who may not know you or know you yet, can you tell us a little about yourself and what it is that you do, sir?
Yeah, man. So I do financial consulting essentially in a nutshell. So what I'm trying to do, my whole goal with Budget Dog is to spread financial literacy. And I went through my own story a couple months ago or a couple years ago at this point, just dealing with a bunch of debt. We had $304,000 in debt. We did everything that everyone told us was the right thing to do, go to college, get a car, get a house, get married. And all of a sudden we ended up with $304,000 in debt at 23 years old. And we were not okay with that. So I looked at the picture and I was like, you know what? This needs to be fixed ASAP. How are we going to do this? So we got on a budget, a balance sheet. We had a balance sheet. We had amortization schedules mapped out. We had the full financial plan mapped out in front of us because it was not sitting well with us. So what we did was attacked it very hard. And 5 years later, I'm now self-employed. And we paid off every bit of the debt in the meantime because we were gung-ho that we had to get that done. So that's a little bit about what I do and the backstory as to how I got here. And we're just building this business slow and steady. I mean, it's been 2 years in running. The last 2 months I've been self-employed and I'm trying to take this to the next level to help as many people as possible.
Wow, that is amazing. That's powerful. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people, well, in fact, millions of people can relate to, accumulating all that debt, with loans, with school, college, cars, everything. And so, the name Budget Dog, where does that come from?
Yeah, I get that question all the time. And people would think, are you calling yourself the budget dog? That really wasn't the intention. So the intention when I first started was putting it from a dog point of view in the personal finance space. I figured that the putting those things together would be really good because people love both of those things, right? So that's honestly where it started. My account was actually from my dog's point of view. And then I eventually realized if I want to turn this into a business, it can't be from a dog's point of view. It has to be from my point of view. So I started putting myself in there, but I didn't change the name because people liked it. It was kind of catchy. And people like kind of joked about like, hey, budget dog, like, and started referring to me as that. So I just kept it. And it's been ever the same ever since.
Absolutely. I know you said you accumulated quite a bit of debt for school. What did you actually go to school for, may I ask?
Yeah, so I was a CPA. I'm a CPA by day. Still am technically. I have my license. I still do my CED, but I did accounting and finance in school, double major at the University of Louisville.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. And I know we are talking about debt. Debt, is it always a bad thing? Is there such thing as good debt? Like, what is the difference between good debt and bad debt? If you
Sure.
know.
Yeah, that question comes up a lot. Also, I don't think there's anything wrong with mortgage debt. I don't think there's anything wrong with rental debt within reason, obviously, right? So for us, our situation kind of called for paying off our mortgage. It made a lot of sense with what was going on. But for somebody out there looking to get into rentals and stuff like that, I'm fine with it. I don't think it's a problem. Make sure you know yourself. Does it bug you or do you like that? Is that okay with you? If it's okay, that's fine. But if it bugs you, pay it off and don't worry about it. As far as good versus bad, we can deep dive into that a little more. So good, I wouldn't say there's really necessarily good and bad. It's more so just like smart and dumb.
Right.
Because the smart debt is, that low interest rate debt, but it's also attached to an asset. So I disagree with low interest debt that doesn't have let's say a student loan. If people have a 2% student loan somehow, but they're investing instead and saying, oh, well, I'm getting the spread. I don't necessarily agree with that entirely because it's a student debt. It's not doing anything for you. But if it's a rental property, asset attached to that debt and it's low interest, in that sense, I understand it and it makes a lot of sense and it's smart. But just a number wise, low interest rate versus higher interest rate doesn't really make it good versus bad, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for breaking that down to me. So there's not really good versus bad, but smart versus dumb if it's actually beneficial towards you. So you were actually able to pay off your home before the age of 30. How exactly did you do that? Because we have people right now who's been paying their mortgage for 20 years and it's still not paid off. How were you able to pay off your mortgage loan before the age of 30? That's amazing, man. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. And where we live, it's Cincinnati, Ohio. So the cost of living is pretty normal across America. It's not a high cost of living area because like I get a lot of followers in California and New York, and they're like, how did you do that? Well, first
Yeah,
off, the mortgage was only $230,000. So it wasn't like a $700,000 mortgage. So it was definitely a little less to begin with, but it was still $230,000, right? And
absolutely.
that's a lot of money. And so how did we actually get to do that? Number one, we said we are going to do this. And so we got on a plan and we actually mapped this out to a T. Now, when we first mapped it out, though, we were at 23 years old, just started our careers. We were at intro salaries, essentially, both 9 to 5s. But we weren't making a ton of money in the beginning. But we mapped it out and we said, okay, based on the salary, it's going to take us 15 years. But we know the next couple of years, our salaries are going to increase. Now, what we didn't know was I was going to create a business out of thin air and bring in a lot more revenue than my 9 to 5. So what we did was we mapped it out. Our plan always was the same. Invest that 20% of gross income while doing this, because that's very important to invest during paying off this mortgage. But every dollar over that, we decided to throw to the mortgage. So as we started increasing our salary, we didn't change our standard of living. We stayed the same. As I created a business out of thin air that created another 9 to 5 salary, essentially, we didn't change our lifestyle. We literally stayed exactly the same. Taking all that money and dumping it into the house and investments was the reason we did it so fast. It really was. So we increased our income. We got on a budget, balance sheet, amortization schedules, the full financial plan, and we just mapped it out. Honestly, it was just a very, it's an easy process and it's a hard process, because once you have that mapped out, which is the easy part, you have to go do it. And doing that in, on a weekend night when, Friday night, you want to go out with your friends or something like that, different things like that will pop up, or a trip will pop up. Like, hey, let's go to Vegas and spend $3,000. Like, that stuff's going to come up, but you got to learn how to navigate the waters with your plan and how it works with you. And that, in a nutshell, that's really what we did.
Oh man, that's amazing. So there's someone out there who maybe they want to start getting started into something like that. What's the first step? I know you said, just mapping it out, planning it out. But also I think it has to be, like you said, you had to have the mindset of wanting to actually get it done. What's like the first step or suggestion you would recommend someone who wants to do something like that?
Yeah, I think the mindset is the first step, 100%. Like, it really is, because if you don't put yourself in the fact that like you have to change everything you're doing. So your current lifestyle is obviously has not provided you what you wanted. You obviously want this lifestyle or this thing. It comes with a different lifestyle. To adjust that, it starts with the mental shift, because it's like anything. If you're like, hey, I'm going to go lose 100 pounds next, the next year or something, I'm going to get on this diet and all this kind of stuff. And the steps to get there. But then that Monday comes and you're like, well, I got to go meal prep my food. I got to go make my food. I got to go eat broccoli. I got to go eat rice and chicken and all this kind of stuff, all these healthy foods. I don't want to adjust that lifestyle. Same thing with the finance world. I know here's my debts. I laid them all out. Here's the amortization schedule, and here's all the payments. Now it comes that first of the month and your friends want to go to Vegas, right? Or I always use that as an example, but like, are you going to say no, or are you going to say yes? Or are you going to find a way to make more income to make both happen? You know what I mean? There's all those things that are occurring, but I will tell you this: Budget to Financial Freedom is my course, my course that I'm very passionate about. I just brought that out in June of 2021, and it's really all of the tools that we used to do exactly what we're doing. It's a very practical, easy course to take. It's about 3.5-hour video, but it walks you through the steps that we took to do exactly how we got to where we are today. And that course comes with a community as well, which is going to be released in November 15th, the community portion of it. And it's just like-minded people coming together to accomplish the same thing.
Absolutely. And where can people find that course? Where can people find you, first of all? Where can they find that course?
Yeah, so all my social medias at Budget Dog. My Twitter has an underscore at the very end. So does my TikTok. But at Budget Dog, and then in my link in my bio, you can see Budget Financial Freedom is my first link, and then all my other links below. There's free resources, all that kind of stuff, free budget templates, really cool stuff I have in there for people.
Absolutely. And you said your community is releasing in November 15th, you said?
Yep, November 15th is the release date for the community specifically. So what I'm really doing is taking that Budget Financial Freedom course, people that want to do this, and not only taking through a course, but taking them through a lifestyle change, and that lifestyle change incorporated into the community, really having people around you running challenges with cash prizes, putting out additional resources that only people in the community would receive, and doing 24/7 pretty much access to myself, as well as an hour per week where we're going to deep dive into anybody's questions that they have of their unique situation. So it's kind of like a financial coaching 24/7 kind of way to scale my services.
Absolutely. That's amazing, man. And, speaking about that amazing community that you're providing, community environment, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, of similar interests and beliefs. How important is that for you in business or in just life in general?
Yeah, man, it's so important. It's really like how I've done what I've done so far is like I'd say up until 23, I was just kind of living life and just hanging out with whoever and having fun. But once I got serious, once I like graduated college, I think was kind of that mark, and I had to get my CPA, and just things started to click, right? At that moment, I realized if I don't surround myself with people that believe in what I believe in, everything I say is going to be met with resistance. And it was for a while. Like I would say stuff, things I'm teaching now that I've created a business essentially that I talk about the same things I've always been talking about. But before it was met with resistance, now it's met with money. So it's been a huge shift. And I think the last 2 years since I started this business, it's been incredible to meet people like Chris Johnson out there. Sean Cranston at the Wealth Dad, Colin Hayes with the Decade Investor. There's people out there I've met that have the same interests, same business types, and just to learn from what they're doing because they're doing it at high levels motivates me every day and teaches me.
Absolutely. Speaking about that, how important is networking for you? Networking with these actual individuals and businesses. How important is that for you?
Oh man, it's everything too. I mean, networking is so key. I feel like people I've always hated networking in the sense of a corporate world. So I love networking naturally. I talk to like at the gym is where I meet my best connections. It's just like the casual settings I like. I hate when you're forced to go to an event. So like when I used to go from I worked at Deloitte, a big four CPA firm, and we'd have these forced networking events. Nobody wanted to be there and you could tell, and the energy was different. But if you go,
it's not organic at all.
It's not organic. It's forced, and it's just bad. But I'm a natural networker, to be honest. But it just was like, I don't need this forced event to network. And so that's why I kind of didn't like it. But it's so important. So I meet with people all the time. I get in their DMs. I meet people out in public, just randomly just talking to them, seeing what they did. I actually was just in Hawaii and met somebody that ran his own company, potentially 8 figures. He hasn't disclosed, but big business, connected all over the world, just from being on a vacation on a safari, essentially, right? And we were able to meet him. We built a connection with him, and we're going to go visit him here soon, out in California. So like those little connections that you make in a public setting, just in casual conversation, I think are so important.
Absolutely, man. That's amazing. You went to Hawaii for a trip and you end up forming a relationship, man. And so, one of the things that I like to say is that, I like relationships over money because, money come and go. Money is a tool. It's just an energy. What are your thoughts on relationships? And do you feel like they're more beneficial than money itself?
Definitely. I think the relationships that you form with people are always going to get you further. I mean, like you said, money is an energy. It kind of comes and goes, right? So if you put yourself in the right positions, which are relationships, which are, your surroundings and stuff like that, the money is going to flow to that surrounding or that relationship naturally. But you need to focus on that, helping people, going out of your way and doing good deeds and stuff like that. That's where the money's going to come. I've always been a big believer in, I don't really care about money. I know I've run a money page and people think I'm like, I got to focus on money, but I actually don't. And that's what I try to preach a lot of times, is saying like, I just want enough money to not care about money, because I don't care about money. It doesn't drive me. It really doesn't. But if I get to the point where I'm in those relationships, in those circles, I know it would naturally flow there. So I'm not really concerned about that.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time. Money is the energy that flows, whatever you put your focus on.
Right.
One of the questions that I like to ask all of my guests when they come on the show, Brennan, is their definition of success, right? Now, success, it varies depending on where you are in life. It doesn't have to be monetary, right? It could just be peace of mind, helping a lot of people, having the impact. What is your definition of success?
Yeah. So I think there's a few things. I think number one, being able to have an impact on multiple people, millions of people at that, throughout your lifetime, bettering what was here before when you left. I think that's number one. I think number two is to be able to be present with and focus on the things that you love, such as your family, your own time, helping others, all that kind of stuff. Taking away the aspect of being controlled by money and dictated in our society, and being able to just do what you want. So building that business or that passive income stream, and I know it's not as easy said than done. It's hard. You can't just like all of a sudden wake up with a business that flows your whole lifestyle, but building something like that to make sure that you can focus on what's important, I think that's ultimate success. And just helping people around you, and you not being the sole focus, but the people around you being the sole focus.
Absolutely, man. And, before you go, man, let's say there's some young kids out there who are about to graduate from college, man. They have so much student loans. They don't even know what they're going to do next. They don't even have a job lined up. What are some tips that you would give them, upon graduating to really start tackling some of that debt right now?
Yeah, I'd say first off, find somebody that you can talk to, and that could be me, that could be your friend. I'm always open in my DMs. I always respond to DMs and stuff like that. Finding somebody that's actually done what you're trying to accomplish is number one. Giving you that confidence that it's not you're not the only one out there experiencing what you're experiencing, and it's actually very possible to do what you're trying to do. You just need a plan, and somebody that's done it you have a mentor in your pocket that will help you do that, right? So I'd say number one is that. Number two is actually taking those steps that mentor provides. We talk about reading a lot, but are we taking action? And same thing with a mentor. We need to make sure we're talking to that mentor, but also taking the action steps that they provide, So those two things coupled together will provide success. And then third, I'd say consistency, being consistent with that and persistent and saying, I want to do this. And if you're persistent and you want to do something, you will do it. Like, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. What we focus our time on is what we value. So if you value paying off that debt, getting a debt-free lifestyle, not feeling burdened down by student loans, then value that. Put that as number one in priority list, and it will get done.
Absolutely, man. Brennan, those are some very powerful tips, very actionable tips. Take action, get a mentor, and be consistent, man. Well, Brennan, I know you have to go. I just want to say thank you so much for giving me some of your time and some of these amazing tips. And for the people who want to check you out again, they can find you where at again?
All my social medias, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I said that backwards with how present I am on each one of those, but you get the point. At Budget Dog, and all my resources are in my link in my bio and all of those.
Absolutely. They can just reach out to email you.
I'm coming out with a new YouTube November 1st.
November 1st.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's going to be amazing. What type of content can we expect from you?
So personal finance, financial freedom, and entrepreneurship.
Oh, man, that's amazing. Well, Brennan, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this, man. This is the Fly on the Wall show. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.